to leave a mark. Some scenes make you jump off the couch, others break you from the inside. But some are so brutal, so fucking perfect, they leave you in shock for days. That's what you're about to see today. The 15 most brutal, legendary, and perfect scenes in the history of cinema. We're not talking about good scenes. We're talking about the best. The ones that redefine cinema and burn themselves into your memory. And when they end, all you can say is, I just witnessed history. Today on Cine Prime.
Et alors, c'est tout?
Je t'ai demandé de venir parce que je voulais que tu sois présent.
In Caché by Michael Haneke, there's a scene you'll never erase. A tense conversation. Cold. Almost absurd. The protagonist visits the man he believes is watching him. An immigrant whose life he destroyed when they were kids. They talk calmly, almost emotionless. And then, without warning, he slits his throat in front of the camera. And drops, right in the doorway. No music, no editing. Just a fixed, brutal, unflinching shot that doesn't move an inch. And you see everything. Haneke doesn't manipulate the viewer. There's no emotional underlining. He shows you horror as if you were there. And that's what destroys you. The surgical coldness of the shot, the dry violence, the dull thud of the body hitting the ground. Everything is measured to the millimeter. And that turns this scene into a masterclass in directing. The violence isn't meant to entertain. It's meant to disturb. And it does. Because it happens without warning, in silence. And it feels real. Possibly the rawest, most disturbing scene in cinema history.
Romeo Foxtrot, shall we dance?
Helicopters flying in formation. The dawn still cracking the horizon. And then, Wagner kicks in. The ride of the Valkyries thunders across the Vietnamese sky like a death omen. It's the lead-up to the most iconic airstrike in film, not just for its visual choreography, but for the brutal contradiction it represents. Classical music, a symbol of civilization and greatness, accompanies a massacre. Explosions, napalm, crossfire, all unfolding to the rhythm of a glorious opera. And that, far from beautifying it, makes the scene even crueler, more absurd. Coppola didn't just build the greatest war sequence in cinema, he created a grotesque spectacle where war becomes performance, a moment that captures the full madness of conflict. Unhinged violence wrapped in audiovisual grandeur. Because of its flawless direction, its disturbing message, and its sheer spectacle, it's undoubtedly one of the most legendary scenes ever filmed. The end of the world has never been shown with such beauty, or such calm. In Melancholia, Lars von Trier turns Earth's destruction into an almost intimate experience. No massive explosions, no chaos, just a family waiting for the inevitable, while an entire planet, Melancholia, looms in the sky like a sentence. The sound fades. The music takes over. And that music, again Wagner, turns fear into sublime tragedy. A girl, her mother, and her aunt sit inside a makeshift magic cave. A cave that won't save them, but protects them emotionally from what's coming. It's a final moment full of resignation, tenderness, and contained terror. Framed in a masterful shot, the sky darkens, the planet collides, and the screen goes black. Von Trier doesn't shoot the apocalypse as spectacle. He shoots it as a poem about depression, acceptance, and the inevitable death of everything. A scene that doesn't just strike you, it buries itself inside you, and redefines what cinema can be at its purest and most devastating. After seeing hell with his own eyes, a boy finds the face of the monster who started it all. A portrait of Hitler, stuck in the mud. Without thinking, he raises his rifle and starts shooting. But what follows isn't just an act of rage, it's a trip in reverse, literally. Each shot takes him backwards in a sequence that deconstructs the history of horror. Real footage, archives, camps, marches, faces. Everything that built the genocide is shown in reverse, as if shooting the portrait could undo it all. But it can't, because he's already seen everything, because he's already lost everything, and because even if he empties the magazine, the horror doesn't go away. When the image of baby Hitler appears, the boy hesitates, raises the gun, but doesn't shoot. It's the most devastating moment in war cinema. Not an explosion, not a battle. A broken boy trying to erase history with a rifle. And when that final burst ends, Mozart's Lacrimosa plays. No words, just a brutal sense of the world ending. And that's where the movie ends. Not with hope, but with perfection. Three outlaws arrive at a train station, and then, only silence. A drop of water falling, a windmill creaking, an annoying fly, and three men waiting for over 10 minutes. The beginning of Once Upon a Time in the West is unlike anything else. The outlaws don't talk, don't explain, they just wait. And during all that waiting, every shot, every ambient sound keeps you on edge. Because even if nothing's happening, you feel like everything is about to. And then, after an eternity of dust, tension, and flies, a train whistle sounds. And off that train comes a man with a harmonica. Without saying a word, you know it's personal. That this scene will end in blood. And it does. But Leone doesn't rush it. He stretches it. He squeezes it. Because he knows the weight is deadlier than the bullet. Over 10 minutes of tension, and only 3 seconds of action. This whole scene is a masterclass in atmosphere, pacing, and direction. Leone rewrote the rules of the Western here, proved that an introduction without dialogue can say more than 1,000 lines. Parasite starts as a comedy, a social satire with thriller undertones. But suddenly, in one scene, the tone breaks brutally, turning into one of the most shocking scenes in film. A party, bright colors, elegant people, a beautiful garden, a kid dressed as an Indian. Everything seems perfect, until it's not. The massacre that happens during the party isn't just shocking because of the violence, it's because of how it's built, because it's inevitable, because throughout the whole movie, something was about to explode. And in that moment, everything that was repressed, but no one expected to erupt, does. And in the most unexpected and extreme way. Resentment, inequality, rage explode, and the film shifts from comedy to tragic drama. The laughs stop, and what remains is pure despair. It's a scene that's impossible to forget. To understand its impact, imagine watching an episode of Friends, and suddenly Rachel is brutally murdered, and everything that follows is trauma, chaos, and silence. The most studied and analyzed scene in the history of cinema. A woman showers in a motel. Water running, no music, everything is calm. Until a silhouette appears behind the curtain. What follows changed cinema forever. It wasn't just a murder, it was a betrayal of the audience. Because Hitchcock didn't kill a victim, he killed his lead, the main actress, 40 minutes into the movie. He did it with 78 shots, 52 cuts, and music that feels like knives slicing through your brain. Bernard Herrmann's violins, the black and white, the chocolate syrup blood. None of that matters as much as what it leaves you with. The scream, the helplessness, the body collapsing in the tub, water still falling. The open eye, dead, the camera pulling back. It was the first time cinema showed murder this intimately, this graphically, this brutally. And even today, 60 years later, it still hits just as hard.
One.
Stanley Kubrick doesn't film duels, he films rituals. And the final duel in Barry Lyndon is one of the tensest, most disconcerting ever shot. After a life of pride, ambition, and downfall, Barry is forced to duel his stepson. But there's no epic music or fast pace. Kubrick chooses absolute silence. An empty barn, natural light seeping through the slats, and two figures trapped by fate. The scene stretches almost unbearably. Every step, every breath, every second is psychological torture. No soundtrack, just pure reality. Kubrick uses symmetrical framing and natural light as weapons. The tension doesn't come from dialogue or violence, but from waiting. And when the shot finally comes, there's no catharsis, only emptiness. Because in Barry Lyndon, confrontations don't bring redemption. They only show the inevitable, that pride, power, and honor always end up destroying someone.
He will win.
Oh, God! Oh, God!
The ending of Seven isn't just a plot twist. It's a punch to the gut, a plunge into emotional hell. After nearly 2 hours of mounting tension, two detectives are given coordinates that lead them to the desert. No music, just wind, dust, and a terrifying calm. There, the killer, played by Kevin Spacey, awaits with a box. What follows is a masterclass in directing. David Fincher stretches time like torture, cuts between the faces of Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, and the killer, while letting the horror creep in slowly. Fincher doesn't need to show anything graphic, just uses glances, breathing, and a silence that turns into screaming inside the viewer. Brad Pitt spirals into desperation, and we spiral with him. You don't know whether to scream, cry, or look away. But you can't, because you're trapped in the scene, as if you were in that desert too. And when the shot finally rings out, it's not an ending, it's a sentence. A scene that transforms every character, and everyone watching. All throughout The Searchers, we follow Ethan Edwards, a man broken by war, hatred, and racism. After his niece is kidnapped by a Comanche tribe, Ethan spends years searching for her. Not like a hero, but like someone obsessed, dangerous. Yet in the final minutes, after all that journey, the unthinkable happens. Ethan finds the girl, and instead of killing her, as we feared, he lifts her into his arms, embraces her, and says, "Let's go home, Debbie." That gesture changes everything. And then comes the ending. The family gathers. Everyone enters the house, except him. John Ford leaves the camera at the doorway. Ethan stays outside, alone, framed in darkness. It's a shot that hurts, because it says nothing, but means everything. Ethan has fulfilled his mission, but he doesn't belong anymore. He's no longer a man for this world. The door slowly closes, and with it, so does the era of the classic Western, the myth of the flawless hero, leaving behind possibly the greatest final shot in film history. Three men, an endless cemetery, a grave with $200,000 buried, and a single bullet left to fire. That's how the most legendary showdown in cinema history begins. Blondie, Tuco, and Angel Eyes, the three faces of greed, betrayal, and cunning, face off in a deadly triangle at the center of a ring of graves under the scorching sun. What follows isn't just gunfire. It's a lesson in editing, pure cinema. For 5 minutes, Sergio Leone stretches the tension to its limit, with close-ups that steal your breath, glances that say more than any dialogue, and a soundtrack that crawls under your skin. Ennio Morricone's The Ecstasy of Gold doesn't just accompany the scene, it elevates it, makes it sacred. Every shot is crafted like a bullet. Every silence screams. And when the final shot finally fires, you feel like you've just witnessed something unique. Because this scene isn't just perfect, it's the climax of the entire Western. The duel that defined what it means to make history in film. Harakiri isn't just a samurai film. It's a scream of rage against the hypocrisy of power. A man shows up at a samurai clan's mansion, asking to commit harakiri in their garden. What seems like an honorable request is actually the beginning of his revenge, because that same clan pushed his son-in-law to take his own life with a bamboo sword. From hunger, from desperation, from goddamn protocol. And in the final stretch, the tension explodes. The protagonist is no longer a samurai. He's an enraged father. a lone man confronting an entire system. With a spear in hand and his dignity intact, he charges the clan that ruined his life. But what stuns isn't just the fight, it's how it's filmed. No heroics, no fake epic. Just dry, painful, bitter violence. Because this isn't a glorious battle, it's a foretold death. And when the clan erases every trace, has the dead man's portrait repainted, and writes a false version of what happened. You get the truth. This ending isn't just about revenge, it's about how power buries guilt, how misunderstood honor destroys lives. With icy beauty. A lost man, a broken woman, and a peep show booth as the only bridge between them. That's Paris, Texas. And this scene is cinema in its purest form. Travis has been gone for years, carrying guilt, running from himself. She, Jane, works unaware that he's found her. When he sees her, he doesn't dare reveal himself. He sits behind the opaque glass, picks up the phone, and starts to talk. What follows isn't a conversation, it's a confession. Travis speaks of a relationship broken by pride, frustration, pain. He speaks in third person, as if he can't admit he's talking about himself. The camera doesn't move. Silence fills the space. She listens, cries, and slowly she recognizes his voice, realizes it's him. And then, finally, they look at each other. Two wrecked faces, separated by glass, close, but unreachable. No screaming, no drama, just guilt, lost love, and what could have been. No editing, no tricks, just two actors surrendering to pain, flawless direction, and the rawest emotional truth cinema can offer. Because in over 100 years of cinema, human pain has never been captured with such honesty, restraint, and beauty. There's no scene in the entire history of cinema quite like it. Not just because of what it shows, but what it makes you feel. After a mind-bending journey through the universe, Bowman crosses the Stargate, and what follows is indescribable. A psychedelic trip, an explosion of shapes, colors, impossible sounds. As if Kubrick was showing us what lies beyond time, space, and human comprehension. And then, silence. A Baroque bedroom. The astronaut ages before our eyes, trapped in a dimension beyond all logic. Until, on the verge of death, he lifts his gaze and sees the monolith, the figure that's guided evolution from the start. In that instant, he's reborn, transformed into something new. A star child, immense, suspended above Earth, watching in silence. And just as you try to understand what you've witnessed, the credits roll, and the Blue Danube begins to play, the very piece you're hearing now. That's when you understand. There are no words. You can't explain it. You can only feel it. Kubrick wasn't after answers. He wanted you to stare into the infinite and face the unknown. This isn't just the best ending in cinema history. It's the moment cinema touched the infinite.